Laboratories, the former CFO of Abbott with 25 years of experience. He also served as the president of the American Business Council and the chairman of Pharma Bureau, where he was instrumental in highlighting the issues faced by the pharma industry. So please, a big round of applause for Mr. Anis Ahmed, our keynote speaker. Anis sir, aaiye sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. A very good morning. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. When Sammy called me last night, and I think it was middle of the night, when he mentioned that I have to be speaker tomorrow. And I asked him only one thing, what is the subject? And he said, it's about the future role of CFO. And this subject is so close to my heart that I couldn't resist, and I said, yes, I'll be very happy to come and share my views on this subject. As Rose mentioned, people transitioning from CFO to CEO role is increasing, and there is a reason behind this, which I firmly believe in, and this is something that I always tell my people, especially the finance colleagues, because the kind of insight you have as the CFO, you can play a totally different role versus any other function. But it's entirely up to you how you take this role. So I'll start from where I left last night. And when I was taking this very prestigious award last night, and I mentioned that what is important for our finance leaders is basically business partnering. So when Sami asked me to say a few things, I think I got this opportunity to wahin se shuru karu, jahan se choda tha, because this thing is something which is very important for me. That really helped me also. When I say business partnering, it's not a jargon, it's not a PowerPoint presentation where I'm presenting to someone. It really means adding value. So what is like business partnering? So when you are, and I think the role that CFO has, you're very close to the CEO. Only when you don't restrict yourself to your functional boundaries. But if you restrict yourself to your functional boundaries and if you say, only when finance thing will come to me, I'll work on it, then I think you'll stay where you are. You will not go anywhere else. Rest assured. You will only work when you'll only progress to different roles when you are the go-to person. When every function come to you and ask you for help, irrespective whether it's coming from marketing, from sales, from supply chain, from HR, from whatever. And that only happens when you're involved, when you're engaged in the business, with your head, with your heart, with your soul, and with the passion, the junoon that I talked about last night. Junoon is something which brings in excellence, and that is something which keeps you different from others. And that junoon was something which really forced me to take this risk, which normally CFOs see when they move from their comfort zone. And if somebody asks them to take a different role other than finance, as Rose was saying, most of the time they are skeptical. They call them prudent, but I say, I don't want to name differently, but let's call it prudent, but they don't want to take risks. But I think this is the time and how things are moving. And the subject was future role of CFOs. What are expectations from the CFOs? It's not about future, it's happening as we speak now. If I tell you what my expectations from my CFOs are, and probably sitting here, it's not just the finance thing, because it's about doing the real business partnering. It's about embracing innovation and technology, meaning using automation, AI, data analytics, and how we can use it for business decision making and add value. It's not about just doing the analysis and just getting rid of it. Second thing, more strategic thinking. You know, and I'll be very honest with you, the environment in which we are trained during our doing a lot of audits. Farooq will relate to this. But audit is basically a postmortem. You do what happened in the past. Strategic thinking is something where you think about the future. When you really collaborate with your CEOs, with your C-suite individuals, directors, and then you become part of future planning, and when you start adding value using the data, the insight that you have. That has been the biggest area where I really worked very hard with our finance colleagues, because there's a tendency that they like to work on what happened in the past and doing the analysis. But I think things are changing now. And you have to be forward-looking. You have to have that forward-looking mindset, meaning you need to anticipate as to what can go wrong. In Pakistan, and this is something that I tell my headquarters all the time, we always work in an environment which is volatile, complex, ambiguous, you name it. But you have to navigate through these environment and you have to deliver on your commitment. Problem with most of us individuals and also leaders, when it comes to, and I'm talking about the MNC environment, when you're hit with some uncertainties, when you're hit with something which you were not expecting, you start using this as an excuse, without realizing that you can use it once, you can use it twice, but if you keep using it, it has its own repercussions. And we have seen MNCs exiting from Pakistan. I'm not saying all of them, but if you take and just do a few analysis of those companies, you will realize that leadership was one of the failure there, because they relied on giving excuses rather than solutions. So I think in this mindset, when you have to work on solutions, who can play a major role better than the CFO? I've been working on various international assignments as well. I've been interacting a lot with CFOs of different parts of the world. Let me tell you very honestly, Pakistani chartered accountants are the best in the world. Best in the world. ताली तो बजा दें इस पे आपके लिए. But if you like to remain relevant, you have to do things differently. You have to think differently. You have to come out of your comfort zone. You have to really add value and you have to become the right hand of the CEO. And Rose, you're absolutely right. The route to become the CEO from CFO is much easier than any other function. Yaqub is sitting here. He has also assumed this role of CEO, and he'll agree with me that the insight that we have, the mindset, and it's just a little bit of fine-tuning that is required in our mindset. And I think the second thing is developing leadership skills. That's absolutely critical. It's not about you only. It's about your team, how you develop them, and how you develop yourself also. Because I think the major issue that I've seen, and I think it's something that ICAP can think and modify their curriculum as well, is about communication, is about interpersonal skills, is about selling themselves as to what they are doing. This is an area where I compare our accountant versus the business graduate. There's a big difference. They try and sell something which they are not doing, but we can't even sell what we are doing. So I think that's something, an area where we need to develop our leaders. So developing leadership skills, developing yourself, developing your team, hiring people who are much better than you. It's not about hiring people who think similarly, who does things as you do, but hiring people who are different in terms of thinking, so that some kind of disruption comes in, and that diversity, that disruption always helps. Because if you encourage different thinking and diversity, that really helps business. Because if you are used to just listening the yes, it will not help business. You have to have people who can really challenge you all the time. And CFO is someone who can really challenge you and who can give you the right kind of rationale as well. But for that, the different level of engagement, different level of mindset is required. So I mentioned about innovation and technology. I mentioned about leadership skills and focus on strategic thinking. Last but not the least, so I promised our next panelists that I'll be very quick and I will not take much time. This is not for future. This was for the past. This is for today. And this will always remain our key strength as an accountant. That's our integrity and our independence. Never ever compromise on this, because that's something that CEOs rely you on. You have to maintain your independence. You don't need to please people because they like to listen something which you think that will please them. No. There are few functions, and I always quote this thing, that few functions in the organization, when they lose their independence, the organization is bound to go in a different direction. One, internal audit and compliance. Second, HR. That's why you're sitting here. Because the moment you compromise on independence and you lose your independence, you end up hiring wrong people. And that impacts the organization in a very different manner. Internal audit. When you don't do things independently and hide or do something which management wants to listen, you're not doing justice to the organization. Because at the end of the day, you face something which you never expect. And then it has its own repercussion. Third, and the most important one, is CFO. Because of the visibility that you have, because of the insight that you have, and the role that you have, if you don't have the independence, then I think there's no use of this role. Because this is the role which I always tell my CFO, that you have to come and challenge me all the time. You have to tell me that what you're doing is not right. And don't feel bad about it, because this is something that we need. This is the kind of healthy environment we need in the organization. Look around and go back and look at the case studies. You will find only one thing missing in the failures of various big corporations where CFO lost his independence and only did something which CEOs or C-suite wanted him to do. So I think I'll emphasize more on this. Rest is, I think, all about changing the mindset, becoming more forward-looking, using the technology, the way things are moving, anticipating things. Anticipatory thinking, I think let me just say a few words on this anticipatory thinking, because that's more relevant for us in Pakistan. If you remain all the time in your comfort zone, and if you think that things are going to happen the way you planned it, it's not happening, and it will never happen. Things will go wrong. In Pakistan, chances are more than any other part of the world. So you have to anticipate. And CFO can play a major role. You have to anticipate, you have to do the scenario building. For that, you need to build the ecosystem around you where you collaborate with other functions and you drive it. Because you are the one who will see that what can go wrong and what should be our option A, option B, option C. So this is all about scenario building. This is all about anticipatory thinking, and it becomes more relevant in Pakistan. So I think this is an area where I think they need to focus on, using technology to the maximum, using AI, data analytics, not just for the analysis. And one more thing, that's about looking at numbers. We need to go beyond numbers. We need to see what is behind numbers. We need to remain connected with the ground realities. We sit in our comfortable offices and think this is what is happening in the market. That's not true. I give you my own example. I try and go to wholesale, where even not most of the company's distribution had go. I try and visit retail. I try and visit my distributors. I try and visit patients also, so that I get right kind of insight as to what they think of our product, what they think of our different strategies. And then I try and come and correlate this with the insight or the feedback that I'm receiving from my team. And I tell you, most of the time, they don't know what is happening on the ground. So what have been my focus throughout? Making sure that they are connected with ground realities. They understand what is happening on the ground, not just sitting in our air-conditioned office and thinking that this is happening and this is what competition is doing. Things don't work this way. So you have to remain connected with the ground realities. You have to see what can come and hit you. So that anticipatory thinking, and how you can help the CEO at the end of the day. And if you have this role, I think this is what I see was the past, which is present, and which will remain future. Remember, last thing that I'll again re-emphasize, independence and integrity. Never compromise on this. Thank you very much.